during the space race, the Russians were outdoing the Americans in every possible way, and some professors would say it's because the Russians are teaching evolution in their schools and in their universities. Is there an essential need for evolution in engineering, technology, science, medicine? Could we do these and practice these without evolution theory in them?
Well, as an engineer, I can tell you that evolution theory is irrelevant to engineering. When you get to genetic engineering and bioengineering, which is trying to bring the usefulness that we find in living organisms into engineering systems, evolution is a hindrance. People who started off using evolution theory have had to abandon it because it is so unhelpful. It is impossible that the kind of things we see in bioengineering happen by chance. We have to see what was the purpose for the characteristic we're looking for, and not to say, well, how could this happen by chance, but how can we design to get this? It's always a question of, this is designed. How can we design it to work the same? As far as biology goes, I studied biology at Wits about 40 odd years ago. And no, it's 50 years now. And it is totally unhelpful on anything. I discovered that all the stories that I was taught in biology had been disproved 20 years earlier, 30 years earlier. One of the things that we were taught, perhaps the most convincing proof of evolution, had been disproved 100 years earlier. It had been disproved shortly after the so-called scientists putting it forward had been challenged by their universities. They had admitted that it was false, and the only reason that Ernst Haeckel, the author of this story, could put forward was he said, well, everybody else is doing the same. Now, these are all acknowledged as being untrue. How can they be essential for the discipline? Now, the textbooks always say creatures have this ability which they evolved. Well, they give no explanation of how they evolved. They could just as well say these creatures have these characteristics because the fairy queen waved her magic wand. So all these statements in the biology textbooks drill in the idea that evolution accounts for this, but they don't show in any way how evolution does account for it. And there is absolutely no need to account for it at all. What happens is you are studying those properties, those processes, and those processes are there. However, they came into account, whether they had evolved, whether they had been created by the creator, or whether the fairy queen waved her magic wand. It makes no difference. And the story that evolution explains it is not true. It does not explain